Hey guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 18 books of 2018. So these are the best books that I read this year that I would recommend to all of you. The first one is The Crown by Kara Cass. This is the last book in the selection series and it was so good, such a good conclusion. Basically the selection series is kind of a dystopian series. The royal family, for their prince or princess to marry someone, people go into kind of like a drawer and it ends up being like a reality TV show that the rest of the country or whatever watches. I just loved this conclusion to the series. I feel like it was so just cute and fun. Next is a graphic novel that I loved and it is Alone. It looks like really dark, but it's actually a really heartwarming, lovely story. It's about a man who lives alone in a lighthouse. There's like a new guy on the boat that delivers the food and stuff, and he starts to wonder why this guy lives alone and wants to get to know more about him. So this story follows that and it's just beautiful. Next is an adult fiction novel by a New Zealand author, and that is The New Animals by Pip Adam. This one is basically about a group of people, like fashion designers and the hairdresser, the makeup artist, that kind of thing, that are trying to put together a fashion photo shoot for a new collection. I don't really know how else to explain what happens. That's kind of what's going on at the time, but the novel is definitely more character driven. You get to see what is going on kind of in the minds of a bunch of different characters and the kind of emotional baggage that they carry with them. It doesn't so much go into their backstories, but it shows how those things affect them in the present moment. There are also environmental issues that come up that were really surprising. Overall, it's probably the weirdest book that I've ever read in my entire life, but it was really good. I feel like some people would hate it, but it was just amazing. And it's set in Auckland. I lived there for quite a few years, so it was really just awesome reading for me. I really enjoyed it. Next is a middle grade novel, which is Wonder by RJ Palacio. This one was fantastic. It's about a boy that looks different to everyone else. He's always been homeschooled, but he's going to go to middle school for the first time, which understandably he's pretty nervous about. And it's just, again, a really heartwarming story. I didn't expect it to be. I thought it would be really sad, which it is in parts, but mostly it's heartwarming and really uplifting. Next is another middle grade novel. This one is called Star-Crossed by Barbara D. This is about a girl in middle school and her class is performing Romeo and Juliet, which is really cute. The main character I felt was really relatable and realistic. Next is a poetry collection, Pocahontas by Tai Tibble. This was the first poetry collection that I've ever given 5 stars. I just found it really relatable and really surprising and moving, and I felt like I liked the style of the poems as well, which that's hard for me to find, poems that I like the style of. So this was a really great poetry collection. Next is a classic. It is a gothic novel from around the 1930s, I think, and that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This book was so fantastic. It's about a woman who marries a man who previously had a wife that has passed away, and so this new wife moves into the household and she feels like all the household staff and everything don't really like her that much. She thinks that they just really miss the wife that passed away, so she feels really insecure about it, and it's a little bit creepy as well because she kind of feels like she's haunted by the previous wife. Du Maurier just has a way of writing, and building up this atmosphere that's really creepy. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot. Next is another classic, and this one is a children's classic. It's Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This one is about 4 sisters who live with their mum. Their dad's away at war, so they're just kind of trying to get by and just doing normal kid stuff, but they all have their own struggles, they're kind of vices that they deal with. So there's a lot of nice little morals and things in this book. Each chapter as well feels like a different separate short story, and it's just a really sweet little book. Next is an adult kind of gothic novel, and that is Tess by Kirsten McDougall. This is by a New Zealand author, which is awesome. This one is about a girl who ends up hitchhiking. She gets picked up by an older man. She's a teenager, and this older guy, sort of middle-aged, picks her up and ends up taking her in because she doesn't really have anywhere to go at the moment. And she finds out about all his family issues, with his kids and stuff that he's struggling with. and one of the characters is kind of psychic. I won't say too much more about that because it might spoil it, but it was just a really dark book, and it's really stuck with me. On a kind of lighter note, I also really enjoyed What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This is a YA contemporary romance. It's about two guys that meet in New York City and they end up trying to find each other again. It's very, very cute, as you would expect from these two authors. I also read Othello by William Shakespeare for the first time this year. I loved this play. It was really, really good. Basically, it's about a guy called Iago who is really envious of Othello and kind of wants to mess up his life, so he ends up manipulating like all these different characters to mess with Othello, and it's just crazy. Like, there's so much dramatic irony and stuff, and it's really, really entertaining. This next one that was one of my favorites this year is one that I read really recently, so you probably would have seen it in my wrap up, but that is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Dark Artificer series, which is part of the Shadowhunters world, and this one follows the teens and kids that are at the LA Institute, and it was just really amazing. The characters and the relationships and everything in this book were fantastic, and I can't wait to continue with the series. Another one of my favorites was another adult fiction novel, and that is Mr. Peacock's Possessions by Lydia Sison. This is another one by a New Zealand author. I feel like there's been a few of those this year, which is really cool. This is a historical fiction novel about a family that come not to New Zealand but to an island in like the Pacific somewhere, and it's a deserted island. The father has this idea of he wants it to be like their own special island where hopefully ships will come to dock and stuff to like pick up supplies and that. So yeah, they first arrive on this island, they're trying to set it up and everything, and they've brought over some Pacific Island men to help them set things up, but then one of the kids in this family goes missing, so a lot of the novel is spent looking for that missing kid, and it deals a lot with like family dynamics and things like that. It's just a really fantastic book, and I found the historical stuff really interesting as well, like how they're surviving on this island when they first get there and everything. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. Next, I have another YA contemporary book, and that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. It deals with the Black Lives Matter movement. This book is about a girl called Star. She's out with one of her friends and he gets shot by police for no reason right in front of her, and she's the only witness, so she has to deal with being part of the like investigation and everything. Yeah, it's a really emotional, fantastic, really well written book. Another YA book that was a favourite for me this year was Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the last book in the Illuminae Files series, which was fantastic. These books are all in a dossier kind of format, and it is a YA sci-fi series, so if you haven't picked up Illuminae, which is the first book yet, you definitely should. This was such a good conclusion. There was reappearances from a lot of your favourite characters, and a lot of things from earlier books get explained in this book, and I just felt like it was such a satisfying ending. It was so intense and fast-paced, and I loved it. A non-fiction book that I really enjoyed this year was Bygone Badass Broads by Mackenzie Lee. So this is a book about 52 different women who did like really amazing things in their lifetime. It's illustrated as well really beautifully. I will find one to show you. There is one of the illustrations. They're just fantastic. And Mackenzie Lee has this like witty way of writing that turned all of these women into characters, and I just wanted to know more about them. Like, I wish Mackenzie Lee could write a whole novel about each of these women, because I think it would be fantastic and really entertaining. Like, it was incredible. So another YA contemporary romance that I really enjoyed, it was really like something different, was Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett. So this one is about a girl who goes camping with some friends like out into the wilderness, but she has a lot of misadventure and she ends up stranded with a guy that she really doesn't get on with. They used to be friends, but they had a falling out, and now they're kind of like enemies. They don't like each other, so she's stuck with him, and it's just a really great romance. Loved it. Loved the like wilderness kind of setting. It was really awesome. And finally, my last 18th favorite book that I really enjoyed this year. This one I saved till last because it was my favorite book overall, like definitely my favorite book of the year and probably my favorite book of all time. That was The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I read this back in like January, I think, but it's just so good. This one is about a guy that goes to college and he really wants to get into this exclusive group of classic students, but once he starts like forming friendships with them, he realizes that they're up to some really dark stuff. One of them ends up dead, and they're all dealing with the fallout of that. So this book is fantastic. It's like really mysterious, atmospheric, beautiful. The characters are really like flawed but amazing, and I loved this book a lot. I can't wait to reread it. So that is it for this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, or if you're going to be picking any of them up. I've linked them all in the info box down below so you can get your hands on them or check out more about them if you want to. Let me know what your favourite book of 2018 was, and I'll see you guys with another video in a couple of days. Bye.